Okay, I guess I will not spend so much time. I will not spend so much time on the roadmap because, let's be honest, I don't have much to show. But anyway, you will see. So I like Dr. Farnsworth from Futurama. So good news, everyone. We've got new excuses for missing deadlines. Yes, we have. But we also have some releases. So essentially, what the slide saying is that please do not put any money on Dasharo release schedule because it's subject to heavy change. Essentially, the roadmap is influenced. The fact that we have roadmap here is influenced by Richard Stallman, who at some point joined, I guess, VPUB, some of the earliest VPUB, and he had hard times really configuring something, joining, but Staszek helped him a lot. Staszek known on the matrix as a Stanley. But anyway, Richard Stallman joined and said, what you have to do is do the roadmaps, report the roadmaps, and move on with the items on the roadmap. This is what I'm trying to do with this presentation with various level of success, I would say. So whoever wants to track the roadmap, you can go to Dasharo issues, and you can always go to GitHub, Dasharo issues, then issues, milestones, and you have a bunch of milestones. We're trying to keep those milestones as accurate as possible, but you can at least see what is in progress. Also, I added Dasharo user group 8 link, so you can directly go to the YouTube and watch the videos from here. Just as a quick reminder, I want to tell you a little bit about the naming because you can be confused. Maybe you're coming from the reality in which you know that there is Dasharo for MSI or for Odroid, for PC engines, whatever, or for Nova Custom, and then you don't know that there are other one, yeah? Or maybe there is even some convention in naming. So yeah, there is a convention in naming when typically we're typing something or writing something in documentation to indicate what kind of Dasharo firmware we're talking about, and to not be lost in the naming space. We created this kind of format, pattern, algorithm, I don't know, Dasharo. So we're saying Dasharo, and there is a parentheses where then we're saying about firmware framework, and it can be coreboot, it can be UEFI. I guess it could be other frameworks. We could even think about, I don't know, U-boot, or I don't know, there could be other fully featured framework that allow us to boot whole machine or boot. But for now, we don't have others. We didn't release anything on the other frameworks. Then we have payload, and for core boot, of course, we can have UEFI payload. For UEFI, there is no payload, but there is universal payload specification, which kind of could support in future phases adding some stuff into UEFI as a payload, I guess, or as an additional application, UEFI application. So what else core boot may have? It may have heads. To be honest, heads include core boot, but anyway, we somehow have to indicate that there is something like Dasharo release which contain head support, and then of course there can be CBIOS, and then we may have even Pro or Enterprise, where we're trying to indicate if this is for individual users or this is for companies. And then we're saying package or package for, and then we have may have some market segment, emulation, network appliance, laptops, desktops. In practice, we don't use market segments much. In practice, we really use precise machine like MSI Z690 or something, or Nova Custom NV41 or V54, yeah, and so on. So this was discussed and documented already. First, we discussed RFC. It took us quite some time to transition to this new naming convention. Hopefully, it will stay with us much longer than the previous one. And we also documented that in Dasharo Universe website. Okay. So when I'm presenting the roadmap, it looks roughly like that. On the left, on the rows, we have some version, some firmware framework, some payload and version, and this is the timeline. Of course, on the top we have some years, quarters, and this is how it looks like. So essentially, it means in this kind of example that the core boot plus UEFI 09 would be released in Q1. Yeah? The DPP, so Dasharo Pro package release, so the paid one will be released in Q1. And this one is a community release, so the like a free one for everyone available will be released in Q2. But this is just an example. Like this is not something that is real roadmap. Yeah? I will present that on the next slides. But anyway, first let's talk a little bit about the statistics to just roughly explain how good was the last quarter or the time since last Dasharo user group. So you can see that I have to also correct one because like when quarters ends, I have to correct those numbers. So I realized we were able to do more Dasharo community releases in by the end of Q4 24, and this time we did 5. So 5 is if we count all these periods, 5 is essentially our average. So we can say that this quarter was average already. Maybe if we will release something more, we will be above average. So I guess that's good state right now, not that bad and not the best one. You know, of course, we did this Q2 2022 where we did 12 releases, but you know, it was COVID and everyone was focused on releasing stuff. So yeah. I guess this is what I want to say. I wanted to also say like there is some proportion of the Dasharo community releases. So the one which we do from the 3M Dev margin, from whatever 3M Dev earning, to the releases that we do based on the contracts. So Dasharo support package releases are from the contracts with our partners. So the proportion for the measured period since 2021 is like 32 Dasharo community releases to 57 Dasharo support package releases. So I would say like 0.56 community release per one commercial release. So you can say for 2 commercial releases we get 1 community release. So something like that. Okay. Yeah, and we ended up the 2024 with 27 releases total. It is good result. It's a second results overall. The best one was of course 2022 where we did 31, and that's it. In this year we already did 5. So hopefully we can at least we should be a little bit better than 6, 7. I guess we should do 7 a quarter to beat the 2024. Okay, so how the market share look like? Market share look like as follows. In the Q4 we did like 2 network appliance, 2 laptops, and 3 desktops, and then network appliance kind of dominate the Q1. And we did already 1 for laptop, but we preparing the more of these releases. I guess Wessel will talk a little bit about that in his presentation. But anyway, the point here is that overall we see that laptops are 42% of our releases, and network appliance are 27. Of course, we would like to increase also other areas, but for workstation we essentially have nothing on the roadmap. So I guess not now. Regarding amount of changes in the roadmap, I guess it's a better and better. On the other side, we promising less, so you can see that there is we promise less and less and less. But the point is that then we kind of deliver something, yeah, because there were some quarters where we didn't deliver like here or here. So we essentially at least delivered something. We have quite a lot of changes, but I guess that's standard. Yeah, so I'm sorry, 3 is not delivered, but the new one. But 3 here, there are 3 which we released, which is kind of not bad comparing to other quarters. And we removed just 1. And last and previous DAC I reported removing more than 1 release. So I guess this is not the bad one, quite stable one, I would say. Okay, regarding QEMU, I already promised that we will do in Q1, but I already know that we will not make it. Essentially, this release is needed for me to do the Dasharo Core Boot plus CBIOS for PC engines. So essentially, I need that QEMU release to offload the expensive hardware tests to the emulation. And it happens that I need support for boot order payload, and it is not that easy with whatever we have right now. So, and the migration of the old test is also something problematic, and that's why I have to shift this. There is also some idea of the release for Core Boot plus UEFI. I know there is a set of bugs, but I'm not placing that on this roadmap because the delivery date is not yet known. Maybe I will place it on the next DAG. Regarding PC engines, I already have huge backlog, and hopefully I will release that backlog in Q2. But maybe I'm promising to myself too much. So essentially, I own 2 releases of Core Boot plus CBIOS, the version on top of Core Boot 2408 and Core Boot 2412. And someone could say, okay, Peter, why to release 2408 if you plan to release 2412? And that's because I already did the rebase. I already did everything. Like the code is completed for the 2408. And yeah, so it's just a matter of passing the test. And to pass the test, I need some time and also working with fixing the hardware in the hardware lab to just pass the test, because then I can release it. So it's way less effort than for 2412, because for 2412 I will have to do another release. And 2503 is already placed on the roadmap in Q3 because there is also already plan sent on the Core Boot mailing list. So I decided I will put it here no matter what. I have to deliver it. That's kind of some of my commitments. We will see how this commitment will be really fulfilled. Okay, then we have Core Boot plus UEFI in Q2. We will see if this will happen, but essentially we have to do this release at least once a year, so it will happen anyway in this year. Yeah, maybe even in Q2. Okay, the next one, Protectly. So Protectly, yeah, I guess it is under risk because we facing some issues. So essentially, this is we're trying to materialize work of Michał Żygowski, which was presented on the I guess Zen Summit last year, and then deliver the Protectly VP 4670 with the trench boot support. So with DRTM, with the DRTM support. But the problem is when we try to validate it, we found that there are some issues. So this was mostly done by Christian Hebel. So he reported 2 bugs, and we will see when we will go with that. I guess the hangs during the microcode updates are very interesting. So because it looks that we can face situation in which operating system updates the microcode to the version that really we don't like, or is somehow conflicting with the one delivered by BIOS or the other side. So the details are in the issue, but the problem, I guess, to some extent, is that we have to update in BIOS to most recent microcode. And the question is if the most recent microcode in BIOS will not mess up with the DRTM. But anyway, we will see. These are some issues that we have with this release, and hopefully we can resolve that. Then network appliance segment, to which hard kernel Odroid H4 belongs. And yeah, so we did the release. So we are very happy that 0.90 was released. So this one was already done, like we delivered that. We planned to do it in Q4, but we essentially delivered that in Q1. Then we're planning version 091. I don't know when it will happen. Very likely it will happen before hardware I/O, because I will use that platform for training. And yeah, so we will see. We already have some backlog, and there is a milestone on which we're working, and we will see if we can do this. Regarding the release for hard kernel Odroid H4 0.9, what we included there, we included the core boot 2402, EDK2 stable 202402, IPXE based on 2405, some downstream version, slightly modified version of vboot, some Intel FSP, if this saying anything to you, this is MR4, then Intel Management Engine 16.50, and the smaller number, I guess, have some meaning, but I don't know which one. Like I will not decode Intel Management Engine versioning. I guess there are some nice guides about that. And then microcode from the December 2023. I guess there is no newer one. To Shameless Plug? Okay, thank you very much. I think I should make it. Okay, regarding the feature set, it's all standard stuff. UEFI compatibility, support for discrete TPM, UEFI secure boot support, the Dasharo version, boot logo customization, USB support, NVMe, measured boot, UEFI shell. I guess like we have to drop UEFI shell. I don't know if we drop it in this release, but we will drop it eventually. I guess in this release we didn't drop because we used it for some stuff. Network boot, Windows 11 booting Ubuntu LTS, disabling management engine, some console redirection stuff. I guess like almost everything is standard stuff. We of course always including since early MSI releases USB stack disable and network stack disable, which are security features important, especially because those stacks are bloated and there are various CVEs in EDK2 for this stack. So there is this known issue, but on the other side, we really don't know. Like its FVTS one cycle was different in time, but yeah, it was too short. But on the other side, there is also this may be false negative, since we suspect the sleep cycle could be delayed in operating system for other reason. So this is like a very small minor thing. Yeah, so what are the planned features? We would like to extend testing to Odroid H4 Ultra, so the highest end one. Then providing a management engine disabling menu. I guess we missed that one in the release. I guess this is like just like a small adjustment from our side, but on the other side for user, it makes big difference. There is also thinking about bifurcation, but it looks like it's not that easy to enable. And Odroid AMI BIOS got two versions of, like they have two versions of the BIOS for the board, one with enabled, one with disabled. I guess this is for supporting some HUDs. And then there is this in-band ECC enable disable button. Right now, I guess Michał Żygowski wrote that there is problem in really detecting that in Linux kernel, that like we are not sure how to detect this feature is enabled. So if someone got ideas how to detect this feature is enabled, how to validate it, please feel free to let us know, because that's something that could help us in creating a scope for this release. Regarding other stuff, so there was idea for heads release. I guess we're working on that. One was released already at the end of the quarter, so 0.9 for V56. There is also NV40 series where we would like to do the heads release, but it's like either next quarter, maybe later. We will see. We have to do this release at least once this year, according to our terms of service, but we will see. There is also there was also a planned release for NV40X, the 1.7.2, where we planned to the release with the core boot and CBIOS based on the demo that Michał Żygowski gave on CubeOS Summit with Trench Boot with anti-evil bait. But the problem with that is essentially that this laptop is out of stock in Nova Custom. and adding features for that probably doesn't make much sense, because like very limited group could use it. Like some information about the release. Heads, like versioning of heads is kind of questionable thing. 0.21, that's the version right now. I think we should work like harder on versioning of heads, because that's not correct reference. Essentially heads is rolling release, so there is no release number, so Dasharo probably have to provide its own number. Right now it's only a hash in the SBOM. There is Dasharo fork based on System 76 open source EC included. The same vboot Dasharo downstream version, Intel Management Engine, and there is also microcode from I guess January 2024, and the firmware support package from the April last year. Yeah. Optiplex 0.11 was released. We also planning the even additional releases for that, where we would like to include trench boot, DRTM support. The problem is that we will not get the CubesOS certification, since Marek saying he don't want to certify platforms which are so old, and we will not get. They are essentially end of life, and essentially will not get any microcode updates. So it's more like for those who, I guess, for those who like to have the RTM, and they don't want to spend too much money on the hardware. Okay, what was included? Coreboot 2402 and EDK2 stable 2024-05. And the microcode, the most recent microcode from 2019. So you see it's already very old. And yeah, it's probably not something you should expose to the external connection, because like someone could probably leverage that. Yeah, all the standard features, I will not go through that. It's essentially like very standard set. If I will have something fancy here, I will definitely mention and probably explain to you what that is. Then MSI, we want to do community release, so that means free for all, available for everyone release. I don't know, Q2, we have to do this year. Right now I'm saying Q2, we will see if we can fit into it. It really depends on our schedule internally in other projects. Same for Z790. So you can see we don't plan any DPP releases for MSI this year, just the community release. Regarding heads, there is also no plan right now. I don't know, maybe this will change. It will be changed when we will do community release. But right now I don't have any new plans for that. Yeah, I guess that's it for this one. And let me switch to shameless plug, where I have some additional stuff. I guess I have quite a lot of. No, I don't have. I have 20 minutes. Okay. Anyway, so I will start with shameless plug, and hopefully I can fit into 20 minutes to give Wessel stage on 15 minutes after the 7 p.m. CET. Okay, not this slide. Yeah, I will try to answer questions from the chat later. But yeah, okay, shameless plug. So yeah, we could do professional marketing, but professional marketing is expensive and not always very efficient. So I'm essentially doing like very like our good friends from Turkey, like boldly promoting the product and without any shame. So essentially, this is to track our promotion effort and show you some updates in the shop and what kind of products we have, and maybe how those products are used. So I want to talk a little bit about hardware, maybe a little bit about services. The most thing I want to spend time on is Pace Enterprise Training, so our training offering. I hope you can convince your employees, or maybe came to our trainings yourself. Maybe you have some ideas for the trainings that we should do. As I said, if you are able to contribute to those trainings commercially, then eventually the effort will end up in the open, either on open security training, either in Dasharo releases. Okay. So regarding hardware, definitely our best seller is SD-Wire. Of course, SD-Wire is not our project. We use it open source hardware stuff, which was public. We essentially used that, created the hardware, and it was like selling very well because like nobody was producing that one. On the other side, we needed that in our lab, so we had to produce that anyway. So that's kind of side effect. Yeah, and there are very many interesting use cases in 3D printing, in testing. If you are in that space, then definitely you should look into that product. There are some quotes here from kurokesu.com website and the blog. So you can see that they doing some developing. They develop some firmware and validate some embedded devices. And then they decided that physical swapping of SD cards is not the safest way for delivering the operating system or delivering the validation software. And then, of course, if you have something that can automatically switch the SD card like SD-Wire, it is really helpful. So you can see that they were very funny, like even saying that maybe we should create a robot which will carry this physical SD card to every device, like in Hackers movie. So yeah, so that's so definitely recommend reading the blog post. It was very interesting reading. It's a lot of interesting stuff, but there is even more interesting feedback. So for example, on Tindy, we got the feedback from Loop UN. I hope that I spelled his name correctly. But essentially, he's using SD-Wire in validation of Apache NATX on the PinePhone. So that's very cool. And he wrote a very nice article about that, quite extensive with nice pictures. So yeah, so they use this SD-Wire plus multiplexer, and they have this Yuzuki Avota A1 open hardware, and they have also PinePhone, and they use it for testing. They use SD-Wire for testing that. Yeah, and that's essentially what article talking about, how they test. So if you are interested, would like to buy SD-Wire, we already have some promotion for you. So if you will use this code on Tindy, you will get 5% discount for up to 3 pieces. So feel free to use it. Yeah, so valid until end of March. And this is how they tested. This is how it like conceptually look like. So you can see that there is some PC, and they essentially flash the NATX RTOS to the micro SD card with the switch directed into the test PC. So in that way, they can flash the micro SD card. Then like change the switch, and it is connected to the PinePhone. And of course, they have other method of driving the PinePhone, so it's boot up with it connected. And that's cool. That's very cool setup. And that's what you can do. For example, you can do with the. This is slightly different setup, but you can also see that there is also SD-Wire here with micro SD multiplexer connected, like wrapped professionally, like in hacker space, and then they it can drive this board and essentially switch the firmware for that board remotely from this box. Yeah, that's very cool effort. Regarding Twonky USB-C sniffer, so whoever wants to be more familiar with the power delivery, I'm pretty sure there is a lot of interesting security stuff in the power delivery. I would be glad to have time to explore that more. I know that Michał Kopeć from 3M Dev is very interested in that. And by the way, he recommended Twonky to make Twonky and to create our own Twonky based on the open source hardware design. We did that. We're selling that. So if you're buying that, if you need this kind of hardware, you're supporting our efforts. And yeah, of course, making this in low quality quantities make it expensive. So sorry for that, but not much we can do with that. If we order small quantities, if we have huge quantities, then the price can go down. To prove that Twonky was quite interesting, you can see that Transpute put the post on Hacker News. There was quite a lot of attention for it, and of course there are also some nice blog posts like mentioning the Twonky. So if you want to sniff the USB PD messages, this is essentially a very easy way. Of course, you can use amplifiers and logic analyzer to do that, but it's much easier and faster to get into the guts when you will use Twonky. Regarding supported hardware, we have Dell Optiplex no longer in pre-order. I know this is old Ivy Bridge hardware, but it's still capable. As I said, it cannot be CubeOS certified, but on the other side, you can connect NVMe. It has capability of having trench boot, so DRTM anti-will mailed CubeOS feature, and it also has ability to have SMI transfer monitor. So it really can be cool hardware. Of course, like if we will not sell it, if we will not have subscription for it, not much will happen. So if you are interested in this old stuff hardware, but something that can work for you, then feel free. If you value more open source, despite hardware is not that modern, then feel free to buy. Also, Odroid is no longer in pre-order. We're selling Odroid. The target right now that this is platform for training, so not much polishing around a lot of security or a lot of features. But I guess like with every training, we will get into new release and we will get new stuff. So at some point, I kind of think that UEFI Secure Boot for this hardware will be one of the best, the Dasharo version of UEFI Secure Boot. But we will see if this will fly in terms of the business side. But how in other way you can support us? You can also go to our website and buy Nova Custom laptops. They coming with Dasharo. So feel free to come to our website, and essentially in that way we're showing that we can bring also our customers. So those are essentially referral links, and you can buy through this website. This is dropshipping. Then PCNGs, this is already ancient hardware. You can see this like a lost species or like a last of its kind. Those are like last pieces that are probably on the market. But on the other side, we're still supporting firmware for that. And then if you want to obtain it, you want to keep the PCNGs going. I still use PCNGs. It's still like very good performant hardware. Of course, with every year it's getting older, but it was great design from the beginning. Similar dropshipping offer for Protectly, but what I wanted to say main was the training, and I have 9 minutes left, so I will focus on this slide. So this is mainly for informing our customers and maybe also explain to some of our employees to tell like how the trainings are delivered by 3M Dev. So we essentially we can say that we have two groups of clients, either individuals, either business. Then for the individuals and business, we have various models, cooperation models in which we could deliver training. So the free one, the like open one, and the like zero paying one, essentially community one, is open security training when everything is for free. You can go there, register, or you can go to YouTube and just watch the videos. Of course, if you register, you have also exercises, which is helpful. Then you have public security conferences like Hardware I/O, where I'm going typically, or someone from 3M Dev team going and presenting some training materials. Of course, that's a share going to the organizer of the conference and share going to the pocket of 3M Dev. And of course, that's for individual clients and business clients. Then for business clients, typically we have PACE Enterprise training, either remote one, either on-site one. So we think that corporate NGOs and public sector could leverage that. There is also like a high-end, very kind of for someone who's got a lot of money, the pet corporate program. And the corporate program is essentially for a large organization which would like to train whole division, not just like one team, or they would like to have a training program for a whole team, which will last for some longer period. Okay, and looking at this, the OST2 is self-paced. The materials are open. Regarding support level, you get occasional support from me. So essentially, from time to time, I'm looking at the forum to understand what kind of things going on. Maybe there is something to fix. Maybe something doesn't work. Maybe something don't understand the exercises. Maybe I have to improve something. But that's essentially occasional, and maybe other from community will answer questions. There is no customization because it is what it is. What I publish it is already there. Maybe there will be update, maybe not. It's completely free of charge, and no additional features. But when we look at the security conferences, we can see it as something for training individual employees or some individuals who just want to gain more knowledge. The access to materials is limited to those students, of course, who are on the training, and they should not distribute the materials. That's essentially the license. Support level is direct support from instructor during the conference. Of course, if I'm on conference, I will provide all the support I can. Customization is limited because the agenda is announced on the website of the conference, and you essentially buying what you're seeing. Regarding the agenda, there is no kind of discussion about adjusting that. The pricing model is typically that the conference takes some prepaid for the training, yeah. And then I typically adjust the pace and tempo of the consuming the content to the audience that I have, and then give some access to my time, to my kind of to support during the breaks and during some lunch time and during after hours. So this is something you can get. So going further, on the right side, we have like another type of delivering the training. So this is essentially either on site of the customer, either remotely, and this is essentially direct from 3MDev. Then there is something extended direct support for the organization, and then I try to adjust the materials even more because I have like typically pre-interview with the customer, what they looking, what they want, and that's how it works. And of course, in the like very high-end version, it's like a creation of the whole training program for a whole division of the company, and that's something that is typically either annual contract, either like some big amount of money, which is like a long-term commitment. Okay, we want your materials, we want your trainings. Please train our employees. Yeah. So this is very rough vision of like how 3MDev can deliver training. So if you see potential for it for your organization or know someone, feel free to recommend us. I guess like you can point them to the YouTube materials that we're doing. Maybe they need a sample. Okay, what we can do and how we deliver stuff. What kind of type of trainings we deliver? Like we essentially doing like almost everything low level. Like we can do x86, ARM, Power, even. We can do core boot, EDK2, U-boot, trusted firmware, OpenBMC, Yocto, whatever. We also doing some closed source components, of course, only based on publicly available materials, but there's quite a lot of that from various conferences. So we can like kind of take it, polish that to teach people, like if there is need for some, I don't know, forensics or like some security analysis, or maybe trusted computing based analysis or features analysis. We can definitely do that. So low-level security mechanism, especially like looking at the example well-written public CVE exploitation for CVEs and its POC exploitation for UEFI secure boot, Intel boot guard, or whatever closed source firmware is there. We can look into that and deliver this kind of training. Trusted computing technologies, of course, like BitLocker, logs, even heads. I don't know if anyone like incorporate environment use heads, but if someone looking into that, I guess Thierry definitely also could deliver the training materials if someone will be interested. Maybe we can do something together. We will see. Measured boot, SRTM, DRTM, root of trust stuff. And essentially, if something is not on the list, please let us know. Of course, any firmware development lifecycle is also something that we're doing. So yeah, so that's it. So those are just slides which I'm showing with some sample trainings. You can go to Pace Enterprise Training and see core boot stuff, Intel root of trust, the system security training, so which is a lot of about x86 boot process, partially based on OST2 materials. The embedded Linux stuff, like all the build root stuff, Yocto stuff. That's also, this is Yocto, directed at Yocto. And yeah, right now we're doing UFI mastering UFI Secure Boot and Intel Boot Guard in Santa Clara. I already told you, and everything else you can buy on 3mdev.com. And please visit our website. Feel free to ask us if there is any product that is not available. And I guess that's it, because I have to give the stage to Wessel. Thank you very much.